As the first light of dawn touched the Nile River, it revealed a land unlike any other. Endless deserts stretched toward the horizon, while a narrow ribbon of green burst with life beside the water. Farmers were already beginning their work in the fertile fields. In the distance, enormous temples and towering pyramids stood as silent reminders of one of history's greatest civilizations. For more than 3,000 years, ancient Egypt flourished in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Yet this civilization created achievements that continue to amaze the world today. How did this incredible civilization rise from the edge of the desert? The answer begins with one remarkable river that changed human history forever. Nearly 10,000 years ago, North Africa looked completely different. What we now know as the Sahara was once filled with grasslands, lakes, forests, and abundant wildlife. As thousands of years passed, the climate slowly became hotter and drier. Lakes disappeared, vegetation faded, and the desert gradually expanded across the land. People adapted by moving toward the one place that never stopped providing life, the Nile River. Flowing from Central Africa to the Mediterranean Sea, it became the heart of an entirely new civilization. Every year, the Nile overflowed its banks. Instead of bringing destruction, these floods left behind rich black soil that made farming possible in the middle of the desert. Communities learned to grow wheat and barley, raise animals, and build permanent villages. They worked together to dig irrigation canals, turning the river into the foundation of everyday life. Reliable harvests created food surpluses, populations grew, and small settlements slowly developed into organized communities. Along the banks of the Nile, the foundations of one of history's greatest civilizations had finally been laid. The Nile was far more than a river. It supplied fresh water, fertile farmland, food, and an easy way to travel, making it the lifeline of ancient Egypt. The river connected distant communities, allowing people to trade goods, exchange ideas, and build stronger relationships across the kingdom. Nature also protected Egypt. Vast deserts stretched to the west and east, while the Mediterranean Sea guarded the north, creating natural barriers against many invaders. Because of this unique geography, Egyptian civilization developed with remarkable stability, allowing its culture to grow continuously for thousands of years. As villages became larger, local leaders began organizing farming, settling disputes, and managing trade between neighboring communities. Over time, two powerful regions emerged. Upper Egypt developed along the narrow southern Nile Valley, while Lower Egypt flourished across the fertile northern delta. For generations, these two lands grew independently, each developing its own traditions, leaders, and identity. Then, around 3100 BCE, everything changed. A powerful ruler known as Narmer, also called Menes, united both kingdoms under a single crown. This historic unification created one of the world's first centralized kingdoms and marked the true beginning of ancient Egypt as a united civilization. From that moment forward, Egypt would be ruled by the pharaoh, a leader believed not only to govern the people, but also to protect the balance of the entire universe. The king of Egypt was known as the pharaoh, but unlike ordinary rulers, the Egyptians believed the pharaoh had been chosen by the gods themselves. The pharaoh's greatest responsibility was to preserve Ma'at, the sacred principle of balance, justice, truth, and harmony that held the kingdom together. People believed that when the pharaoh ruled wisely, the Nile would flood on time, crops would flourish, and the entire kingdom would prosper. To govern such a vast land, Egypt developed one of the world's earliest and most organized systems of administration. Scribes carefully recorded taxes, harvests, construction projects, and trade using hieroglyphic writing on papyrus. Government officials supervised irrigation canals, collected grain, and organized workers throughout the kingdom. This efficient bureaucracy helped Egypt manage its growing population and resources with remarkable precision. Religion shaped every part of Egyptian life. Their gods explained nature, protected the kingdom, and guided people through both life and death. Ra, the sun god, represented creation and renewal. Osiris ruled the afterlife, while Isis symbolized motherhood and healing, and Horus became the protector of kings. Because they believed life continued after death, preparing for the afterlife became one of the most important traditions in ancient Egypt. The earliest Egyptian rulers were buried in large rectangular tombs known as mastabas. These simple structures reflected the Egyptians' growing belief that life continued after death. As time passed, each generation of rulers wanted to leave behind something even more extraordinary. Their ambition would soon transform Egyptian architecture forever. Everything changed during the reign of Pharaoh Djoser. He trusted an extraordinary architect named Imhotep to create a monument unlike anything the world had ever seen. Instead of building a single mastaba, Imhotep stacked several stone platforms on top of one another, creating the world's first pyramid. Completed around 2667 BCE, the Step Pyramid became the first monumental stone building in human history. It marked the beginning of a new era in engineering and architecture. The success of the Step Pyramid inspired future pharaohs to think even bigger. Their dreams would eventually lead to the greatest monuments ancient Egypt ever produced. During the Fourth Dynasty, Pharaoh Khufu launched one of the most ambitious construction projects in history, the Great Pyramid of Giza. When it was completed, the Great Pyramid stood nearly 146 meters high and remained the tallest structure built by human hands for almost 4,000 years. More than 2 million carefully cut limestone and granite blocks were used in its construction. Even today, its incredible precision continues to amaze historians and engineers. For centuries, people believed these monuments were built by slaves or mysterious lost civilizations. Modern archaeology, however, has revealed a very different story. Archaeological discoveries have completely changed our understanding of how the pyramids were built. Evidence now shows they were constructed by skilled Egyptian workers rather than enslaved people. Excavations uncovered entire workers' villages, complete with homes, bakeries, workshops, kitchens, and even medical facilities. These settlements reveal how organized pyramid construction truly was. Many of the builders were highly skilled craftsmen. Others were farmers who worked on the pyramids during the Nile's flood season, when their fields were temporarily underwater. Together, careful planning, remarkable engineering, and thousands of dedicated workers made one of history's greatest construction projects possible. Khufu's pyramid was eventually joined by two more magnificent pyramids built for Khafre and Menkaure, completing the famous skyline of Giza. Standing nearby was another extraordinary monument, the Great Sphinx. With the body of a lion and the face of a king, it became one of the most recognizable symbols of ancient Egypt. Carved directly from a single massive limestone outcrop, the Sphinx has watched over the desert for thousands of years, its true purpose still inspiring debate among historians. But Egypt's greatness was never defined by monuments alone. Most Egyptians lived simple, hard-working lives along the fertile banks of the Nile. Families built sturdy homes from sun-dried mud bricks, designed to stay cool during the intense desert heat. These homes became the center of everyday family life. Bread formed the foundation of nearly every meal, often served with vegetables, dates, beans, fish, and barley beer. While wealthy families enjoyed greater luxury, ordinary farmers depended on the fertile Nile to feed their households and sustain an entire civilization. From an early age, Egyptian children learned the skills they would need throughout their lives. Most boys followed their fathers into farming or family trades, while girls learned weaving, cooking, and managing the household. Only a small number of children received formal education. Those chosen to become scribes entered a world where reading and writing opened the door to positions of great importance. Because few Egyptians could read or write, scribes became some of the most respected people in the kingdom. Their records preserved the history of Egypt for generations. Egyptians also took great pride in their appearance and craftsmanship. Light linen clothing helped them stay cool in the desert climate, while jewelry reflected both beauty and status. Talented artisans crafted beautiful furniture, colorful pottery, detailed sculptures, and intricate jewelry. Many of these masterpieces have survived for thousands of years. For centuries, the Old Kingdom enjoyed remarkable prosperity. But even the strongest civilizations eventually face new challenges. Regional governors gradually became more powerful, reducing the authority of the pharaoh and weakening the central government. At the same time, several years of unusually low Nile floods damaged agriculture, creating food shortages and economic hardship across the kingdom. As resources became scarce, maintaining stability grew increasingly difficult. The unity that had once defined Egypt slowly began to fade. The Old Kingdom gradually came to an end, opening the door to a difficult chapter in Egyptian history known as the First Intermediate Period. During the First Intermediate Period, Egypt lost the strong central leadership that had once united the kingdom. Regional rulers competed for power, and political stability quickly disappeared. Despite the political chaos, Egyptian civilization did not collapse. Farmers continued cultivating the land, temples remained active, and communities preserved traditions that had been passed down for generations. After years of division, hope finally arrived from the southern city of Thebes. A determined ruler named Mentuhotep II succeeded in bringing Upper and Lower Egypt back together. Around 2055 BCE, Egypt was reunited once again. This achievement marked the beginning of the Middle Kingdom, a new age of stability and renewal. The new rulers focused on rebuilding the country. Irrigation systems were repaired, farmland expanded, and agriculture once again became the foundation of Egypt's prosperity. Trade also flourished during the Middle Kingdom. Egyptian merchants traveled farther than ever before, bringing valuable goods from distant lands. Gold arrived from Nubia, while copper, precious stones, ivory, incense, and exotic animals reached Egypt through expanding trade networks. This growing wealth strengthened both the royal court and the great temples, allowing new monuments and public works to be built across the kingdom. Egyptian culture also entered a new golden age. Scribes copied literature onto papyrus, artists refined their skills, and architects continued creating remarkable buildings. Even beliefs about the afterlife became more personal, giving ordinary Egyptians greater hope that eternal life was possible beyond the royal family. Even beliefs about the afterlife became more personal, giving ordinary Egyptians greater hope that eternal life was possible beyond the royal family. Religious festivals brought entire communities together. Music, dancing, colorful processions, and offerings to the gods became an important part of everyday life, reflecting the prosperity of the kingdom. But beyond Egypt's borders, powerful new forces were beginning to emerge. The peace that had lasted for generations would soon face its greatest challenge. Around 1650 BCE, a people known as the Hyksos gradually gained control of northern Egypt. Their arrival introduced new ideas that would permanently change Egyptian warfare. The Hyksos brought powerful innovations, including fast horse-drawn chariots, stronger bronze weapons, and advanced composite bows that gave them a significant advantage in battle. Rather than destroying Egypt, this period forced the kingdom to adapt. Egyptian leaders carefully studied these new military technologies and prepared to reclaim their independence. That opportunity finally came under the leadership of Ahmose I. After years of preparation, he successfully drove the Hyksos out of Egypt and reunited the kingdom. His victory marked the beginning of the New Kingdom, the most powerful and ambitious era in ancient Egyptian history. Determined to prevent future invasions, the pharaohs expanded Egypt far beyond the Nile Valley. The kingdom grew into a vast empire, stretching deep into Nubia and the Near East. At the height of the New Kingdom, Egypt became one of the richest and most influential civilizations in the ancient world, entering an age of extraordinary power and achievement. One of the most extraordinary rulers of the New Kingdom was Hatshepsut. At a time when almost every pharaoh was a man, she proved herself to be one of Egypt's most capable and successful leaders. Rather than seeking glory through constant warfare, Hatshepsut strengthened Egypt by expanding trade and launching ambitious building projects across the kingdom. Her famous expedition to the land of Punt returned with gold, ivory, incense trees, rare animals, and valuable goods that enriched Egypt for generations. After Hatshepsut came Thutmose III, a brilliant military commander whose victories transformed Egypt into one of the greatest empires of the ancient world. His successful campaigns secured important trade routes and brought enormous wealth back to Egypt, funding magnificent temples, monuments, and public works. The great temple complexes of Karnak and Luxor became symbols of Egypt's unmatched prosperity, serving as centers of religion, government, and culture. Then came one of the most surprising chapters in Egyptian history. Pharaoh Akhenaten introduced a dramatic religious reform centered on the worship of the Aten, changing traditions that had lasted for centuries. After Akhenaten's death, Egypt quickly returned to its traditional beliefs. His young successor, Tutankhamun, restored the worship of the ancient gods and reunited the kingdom's religious traditions. Although Tutankhamun ruled for only a short time, his name became famous around the world after an extraordinary archaeological discovery made thousands of years later. In 1922, archaeologist Howard Carter uncovered Tutankhamun's nearly untouched tomb, revealing thousands of priceless treasures and giving the modern world an unprecedented glimpse into ancient Egypt. But even the greatest empires eventually change. As centuries passed, Egypt struggled with internal conflicts, economic pressure, and the growing power of neighboring kingdoms. The Assyrians, and later the Persians, gained control of Egypt. Yet despite foreign rule, Egyptian temples remained active, and its traditions continued to shape everyday life. A new era began in 332 BCE when Alexander the Great entered Egypt. Welcomed by many as a liberator, he founded the city of Alexandria, which soon became one of the greatest centers of learning in the ancient world. After Alexander's death, Egypt came under the rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Its final ruler, Cleopatra VII, combined intelligence, diplomacy, and determination in a last effort to preserve Egypt's independence. Despite her efforts, Egypt eventually fell to Rome after the defeat of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. With her death in 30 BCE, nearly 3,000 years of pharaonic rule came to an end. Although the age of the pharaohs ended, Egypt's influence never disappeared. Its achievements in architecture, engineering, writing, medicine, mathematics, and government continued to inspire civilizations for centuries. Even today, the story of ancient Egypt continues to inspire the world. Its monuments remind us that great civilizations are built through vision, knowledge, resilience, and the efforts of countless ordinary people. Thank you for joining this journey through ancient Egypt. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more incredible journeys into history.